Okay, welcome in everyone to another episode of the NML Pickleball podcast. I'm Chris Ross. I got Jeremy to my left today, and we've got a special guest with all the tour wars going on. Lea Jansen is here, pro pickleball player, early MLP sign player. Lea, how's it
Too
going?
early. Yeah, I signed too early. That's for sure. That's how it's going.
So, well, why don't we just get into it then? What was the process of signing with MLP when all this went down?
So it was all whirlwind. Like I look back to that weekend and it was insane. Like everything just went down that Thursday when essentially Pardo actually contacted me first and he was like, "Hey, did you hear?" And then from there, like it just started the domino effect and both sides had reached out. Both sides were very like pushy at like you have to do it now. And I think what a lot of people forget about is last year during the mini tour wars before the ceasefire, a lot of people lost their contracts or they got their contracts cut in half. So for some people, myself included, who was part of that, losing their contract in the waiting, we kind of like were just weighing both sides and really deciding from there. And I had heard that Tyson, Anna, and James had already chosen the Major League Pickleball side. So that was huge for me, and knowing that big time players had already chosen essentially.
And so what was what was being said to you on both sides? Like you said they were being pushy, but besides, who had signed, was there, what type of money? I know you can't probably talk specifics, but was one offering more? What else?
I think everybody knows like MLP signees left money on the table, and it was strictly from a trust status to us that we felt like we were going to get our money's worth from MLP. We felt like that was actually going to come through. And for me personally, I've been on record stating that I was a bigger fan of MLP from a player's perspective, especially at 31, kind of going through the health issues that she had. I was like, this is a dream come true. Like, this is what I've been wishing for. Only MLP, only 2 rally scoring games a day, no singles, paid expenses. This is too good to be true, is kind of what I was thinking at the time. And that's why I left money on the table. Essentially leaving the PPA, I was like, there's no way this format is sustainable. It's not as fun. It's not as sustainable for like someone like me who's 31 now. And I can go play MLP for 10 years. And I might be leaving a little money on the table, but I know I'm going to get that money with MLP. And I feel like I'm really going to expand my career in the long run.
Well, and let's say you're getting a big pay bump from what, like when you signed, your money is a fairly significant pay bump from what you're earning this year, or not?
Yes. Yeah. No. Especially just because that's your floor, right? So you can still earn prize. My contract is that I can still earn prize money. I still have my sponsorships from the outside, and I was told we're going to go into a free market too. So say I have a kick-ass year, maybe some teams are going to bid higher for me, but I will always have this floor. And that was a lot of my anxiety with PPAs. Like, yes, you had your entry fees, but your appearance fees, sorry. But your appearance fees are based on like how you're doing, and myself included. So this is my situation. I started out the year hot, right? I was making every women's singles final. Me and Elise were doing amazing, medaling at every event. Then I made the mistake of choosing partners I felt like didn't compliment me. My doubles results went down. All the while I'm kind of having this health crisis that I had to give up my best event for. And I'm like, man, nothing's guaranteed for me, right? Even when I was winning a lot at the beginning of the year before I got burnt out, you always face this anxiety of like, can I do this weekend? Am I going to be a little bit off? These margins are so thin. So to have that anxiety taken away, and if I don't even make a shot, even make a shot the rest of the year, and I'm still making this floor, it seemed too good to be true at the time.
What are you hearing now with your contract? Like, is it going to stay the same? Like, with there still now being PPA and MLP, part of, I think, the attraction for you with MLP was that you were going to get to play less events, have an off season. Is that still on the is that still guaranteed as far as you know?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea what is going on. I mean, to be honest, I don't even, I like, this is just one like chapter in the book too. Like, these two sides still see pickleball playing so differently. So how is this merger even going to look? You know, like, PPA is individual tournaments, non-rally scoring. It's totally not what MLP wants. So how are these two going to really coexist? I think they're still trying to work that out. But I will be damned if I don't get an off season. Like, that was one of the big reasons I signed. I was just worn out. I am worn out, you know, so no one can think the PPA schedule is viable. Like, you just see people getting more and more exhausted as they go. I am a firm believer that Annalee's reaction was due to just burnout. And like, it was a 16-year-old who was mentally and physically exhausted.
Well, so what, for people who don't know, you've like, there's a 200-day requirement as part of the MLP contract you signed, right?
Yes. And from what my understanding was during my negotiations, that's like a pretty loose thing.
So can you explain exactly what that 200-day requirement is, or what you understood it to be?
So they kind of like, I mean, I did it with Brooks Wiley. He was mainly the person who I talked to, and he kind of just like, I mean, like, a lot of the stuff he kind of skated over just to try to get me to sign quickly. But it was 12 confirmed events. You might have to do some, like, you know, friendly fire, you versus the slice kind of stuff. Travel days were counted, and from that, it didn't really seem like we own you for 200 days. It seemed like you just have to be there for all the events. And if we ask you to do maybe a Pickleball Cares event, you got to be available.
And then you could do whatever for the other 100 days. There's like 100 days you can do whatever.
Yeah, and you can go play other events. Like, say the two entities were separate next year, right? And I wanted to go, me and Tyra were like, let's go try and beat AL. Let's go play a PPA. I can still go do that. I just had to give MLP 80% of my money, prize money, which was essentially incentivizing me not to. But Tyra and I actually had agreed that we were going to go play like 4 to 5 PPAs just for the hell of it.
Interesting.
So then you're going through this process, and what I'm really curious about is you've signed then. So you sign the contract, you're feeling pretty good about things, it sounds like, and then you start hearing that these PPA signed players, their PPA's offering a bunch of money. People are signing for a lot of money. A couple of the names that have gotten thrown around recently, I think Kwang Duong got $5,000. I think Jimmy on King of the Court, he alluded to but didn't say Lauren Stratman's name, $500,000. So you're hearing these numbers. What are you thinking? Are you talking to anyone, you know, during that time, or how are you feeling now about that?
So honestly, I was kind of feeling like they can go sign those fake contracts. Like, when you would hear those numbers, you're like, there's no way they will ever see any of that. Yeah, they might be seeing a little bit up front, but there's just no way that's viable, because, are you kidding me? Like, Sam Querrey over $1 million? Yeah, right. You know? So it just kind of seemed like monopoly money. And we were told, and this was a lot of it, is like, when and if there was a, like, I knew there was going to be a merger. Like, you just knew it. There's no way the PPA could have been operating. I knew they were going to come there and kind of what I thought would be surrender. And I was told that those contracts would not be honored in a merger. And then I was told my PPA contract would then be cut in half. So, like, you wanted to pick the winning side, essentially. And we all felt like we picked the winning side. So that is the one complaint about this merger for all MLP signed players, is our main gripe is, like, you guys promised us those contracts, were not going to be honored when that merger happened. And obviously, I know there's a lot of logistics to it, a lot of big money people, a lot of things changing. I don't really know what happened. So I just have to have faith that MLP is going to make it right, or they're somehow going to negotiate themselves out of these. Like, are these contracts ironclad in this merger? I don't know, because Kwangdong's not even going to be making a team, you know? Like, that's insane.
He is grinding, Kwang is.
Oh, I saw his, like, I actually sent my friend his dad teaching him how to stack video. I really enjoyed that one.
I don't think
He's bringing tennis to pickleball, like the hand feeding training and stuff like that. I'm not going to lie, I've started doing it too.
I think his dad might be able to figure out some stuff. He might be on his phone a lot during Kwang's matches, but he seems like he can figure out some stuff.
I think Kwang looks too much at his dad during his matches.
For sure.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. Getting back to kind of the main topic, you said kind of the reason you signed MLP was trust. Do you still have trust in those people now, given how things have gone?
I mean, I can just speak for the person who I did it with. No, you know, I can say, like, yeah, it's hard to trust Brooks at this point. But the owners as a whole have always been great to me, and I think the owners are the ones who really run this league. So yes, I still trust the MLP owners. I really do think they will make it right, and I do think, but yeah, no, Brooks Wiley, I do not trust. No, I don't.
How do you think they'll make it right, though? Because, like, they've basically got two options. It seems that they're at least currently telling the PPA players that they're going to honor those contracts. So if they honor those inflated contracts, then their only way they can make it right is basically to give you what you would have got on a PPA, which it seems unlikely that they're going to do.
But here's my standpoint, and I know this is a twofold problem. I wouldn't have even asked for that. I think, like, pickleball players, like, in general, like, and I know people are there listening to their negotiations and stuff, but I think we need to come together. If the owners aren't, and the people in charge aren't setting a market, we need to set a market, because this is the .com bubble. This is insane. This is done. Like, we are canceling ourselves out of this game. If I hear Kwangdong is making $500K and he's going to push that envelope, guess what? Lea Jansen is going to get 1.5 million. You know, like, Ben Johns is going to get 10 million. Like, but wait, what's our ROI? It still has yet to be proven. So there needs to be some sort of market set. And I understand there's a twofold problem, but I have had kind of a problem with the greedy pickleball players in general in this whole thing. I think there's a lot of people just trying to make a quick buck. But obviously, you know, this is our jobs, this is our livelihood. But the two tours, like, need to come together and set a market, because you guys are bankrupting each other.
But isn't that's the problem that you're pointing out? What the problem is that you have all these, you know, you have these big contracts, sure, and you know, if you can't sustain it, then there's no pro leagues. But the other side of that is that if your livelihood is what maybe it could be, maybe you have 1 or 2 years of a shelf life being a competitive player at this point, you need to get the money when you can, because who knows how long you're going to last in the sport, especially if you're, you know, not at the top. Some of the people at the top have more longevity, but I think that's one of the problems, is that if you're a player, you know, what other chance in life are you going to have to get $500 or $1,000 or $300,000 or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I just think, yeah, and I can see it from that standpoint. I have a little more confidence I'm going to be around for a while. So, but I just think, like, there's no way there's going to be pro pickleball in 5 years, because also, like, think of all the people coming in. They're going to be like, oh, like, you know, that person, like, is getting 700K. I have this upside, you know, I'm going to get this much. So there needs to be some kind of real market set. And, like, because you know what we've all learned, let me tell you, if there's ever, like, this core wars again, I'm going to be like, Jackie, Jade, Andrea Coop. I'm going to get all the girls, Megan DeZon. I'm going to call up Etta Wright. I'm going to be like, let's all get in the block, ladies. They need females. Let's all get in a block, just like the Johnsons got in the block. We're going to be the tipping point, and we're going to drive our price up. We're going to go to 7 million now. So they need to be careful of that, because that's definitely something I've learned. And I think a lot of people are kind of growing smarter and smarter every time this goes around. So the owners, like the two leagues, really need to come together and be like, okay, guys, even if we get in a fight again, let's have a rational market.
So, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's easier said than done, because there's human nature, and maybe like this merger, it seems actually is going to go through, but who knows what the next entity is that's going to pop up. I think like we are kind of .com, maybe Pickleball's your NFT right now. Like I don't think it's to say that somebody else isn't going to hop into the space. Like I know a name that's been tossed around is Pickleball for America's out there, like looking to get into the game. If somebody else comes along with money, the same thing's going to happen. They're going to start bidding on players, and human nature is I'm going to take my money and everybody else can kind of fight for themselves. It's like you saying Kwong Dong gets 500,000, I want my 1.5. Like
I mean, I just like, to me, I don't even know how that was negotiated. Like I don't even know how that even got there. Like it's just insane to me.
I think we've heard that it was just offered to him without any sort of.
Yeah, I heard that was a one-sided offer. So.
Wow. I mean, yeah, like that's insane to me. I don't know.
So, Lea, one thing I wanted to ask you is there's been discussion. We have heard about possible pay bump or MLP pay bumping some early sign MLP players. Have there been any discussions with you about getting a pay bump to at least sort of help compensate you for what the PPA players are getting, and have any other players gotten pay bumps or had those discussions that you've heard of?
So that pay, like I just always try and be careful, because I know some stuff I've heard, I've reacted to, and then like what's the merit behind it? I give the Tyler Loong saying he got 5 million on the podcast thing, and everyone's like, oh my God, Tyler Loong actually got. It's like, that's so much misinformation has been spread around. So I don't really know if the early signees got money. I definitely I can say, just because I'm me, like in this merger that has happened, I've been like, okay, how are you guys going to make this right? Because I, like, good, bad, or ugly, I was the number 5 girl off the board, so how am I going to, like, how are you going to make this right? You don't need to put me all the way up there, but something needs to happen. And, I don't know what they're going to do, because I know it's just not me. I know there's a lot of other people out there that are like that. It's hard to tell, like, what's really going to happen. Like I say, I have faith in MLP and the owners, of what that they're going to try and make it reasonable and right. Obviously, you can't make up everything, right? The offer on the table that I left on the table from the PPA, they're not going to pay me, and I understand that. But there are some gravely underpaid players in this league. But hopefully the free market that MLP is trying to bring in next year also evens it out.
As far as you know, are they still bringing in the fair market with MLP? Because it sounded like on Jimmy's podcast, and I don't know who he's been talking to, but that it wasn't going to be a free market, and it was just going to be players' contracts were what they were.
No, I talked to an owner yesterday, and he assured me that's like, so say like this is my price tag, someone can come in and bid for me at a higher one, or you just get put on a really good team. So I do think so. Obviously, I don't know. Jimmy is always in the know. So, but my conversation with the owner yesterday, that's what I was assured.
Yeah, and now that you're mentioning that, I think it sounded like Jimmy was saying that if he used, if you use Lord Stratman as an example, $500,000, that would be our cap hit. Probably people aren't bidding above $500,000 for her. Let's say Kwong Guang, no one's bidding more than 500,000 for Kwong. He didn't say one way or another whether if you can bid more for someone like if you're at 200,000, that's I'm totally hypothetical number, by the way. I don't know that. And someone wants to bid 500,000 for you, he didn't say whether or not that could occur. So that's interesting that it sounds like that's a possibility with this free agency cap model.
Yeah. So that's kind of been my thing. So say like Andrea Coop is at 190. That will probably get her on like maybe Ben's team, right? And she can be with another top girl. So she either gets on a good team or someone's like, damn, that's a really good team. I'm going to bid for this. So I feel like the market will even itself out, but I also do feel like MLP for certain players needs to come through and obviously, and just like, just make it right, especially because, a lot of us were the tipping point in them winning this war essentially. And yeah. And we were told those contracts wouldn't be honored. So we kind of just feel like stupid. A lot of us had life-changing money on the table.
You are talking about there being a number of players. Do you think there's any chance that there could be a player strike in Atlanta?
I don't think so. No. I know myself, I'm playing. And there's too many backdoor deals going on. There's too much this, that, and the other thing. There's too much of, we really need the money for us to ever really come together. I mean, really, I think we're so many years away from a union just because we're still in the phase of backdoor deals, sorry.
Yeah, but you were talking that I think it is a long ways from happening, but isn't like a big reason that there is no kind of control on things over player contracts because you guys, for the most part, act independently? Like if a number of you that all signed and basically brought the deal to MLP said, hey, you wait till Monday and you say, hey, we're not playing if you don't make this right. You guys have a fair amount of leverage. They've sold those tickets. They've marketed the event. That's kind of your leverage. You guys go out and play.
For sure. Absolutely. And that totally is. But I don't know. There's nothing that shows me that anything will ever happen. I know I've stuck my neck out and sent some messages and I've just kind of been ghosted. So you kind of just think like, it's really hard to think any of us are going to ever come together in this collective unit.
I think that's the problem I've seen when there's been boycott discussions in the past, or a couple of times, is that and this is different money that we're talking about, but there's not enough, there's not enough people to come together to actually force anyone's hands and say, okay, we're going to make you do something about it. Because if you and two other players do something, the MLP show can probably go on, no problem. But if you and 9 other players, premier players, decide not to do it, then maybe you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, so we were looking at going on with MLP without Ben and Annalie, and everyone was kind of under like, yeah, you're right. We don't need them. We don't need the 2 biggest people in the sport. We saw Paris Todd sit out this last year. People debate where her game is at, but we can agree she's a top player. Maybe some people would say she's elite, some people say she won't, but she also has the draw of like, she's Paris Todd, she has all these Instagram followers, she's a personality out there. And I totally forgot that Paris Todd wasn't playing, a big name in this sport. Was like, oh wait, yeah, Paris isn't here. This league is so much bigger than one player that we all really need to unite. So if Lea Jansen sits out, they're just going to slide in on a Gretchkina. It's rally scoring. Maybe she's going to make me look dumb for sitting out, Maybe people are just like, oh, like, why'd Lea sit out? Like, see ya, we didn't need her. So we would really need, you know, a lot of the good players to come together, and it just hasn't been proven in pickleball that can happen yet.
So generally, you talked about like how you're feeling trust wise with owners and just MLP and PPA in general. How do you feel about the way the new leadership is structured, in the sense they have this 5-person board with Kuhn, Stein, Altilis, Dundon, and Brian Levine? How do you feel about that? And for this new holding company that's going to oversee the MLP and PPA?
I mean, I don't know. You know, I don't really know too many of the people in charge. So we'll see. Like, I mean, we're all just kind of like, what the heck is going on? We just kind of want to know. I don't really even know too many of the people sitting on it for MLP. I know Brian a little bit, but he's kind of like an independent, I would say. I know he used to work for them, and I know Steve obviously, but that's just more of a proxy vote. So yeah, it would be interesting to see.
Did you, I know you probably don't want to say too much, but find it surprising that a lot of the PPA leadership, it seems to be staying on after the players seem to speak with basically their wallets by taking less to go to MLP?
Yeah, I mean, I know they need like the tournament infrastructure and stuff. So I was like, to be honest, there was a lot in this merger that just shocked me. I knew there was going to be one, but the 50-50-ness of it really was like, wow, like, damn, Dundon's good. Yeah, it will be really, really interesting to see, like, if they have someone come in and kind of clean house. It would be interesting to see the CEO they bring in. I think that will like really tell the story of the next couple months.
Well, what I'm not understanding right now with what's going on, and I think they have just so much that's not figured out, is this 2-brand situation. That was a bit surprising to me that they're going to run this, at least for the time being, as MLP and PPA as 2 distinct brands, when you're trying to say that we're together. I don't really know how that works, you know?
So the confusing part to me, and this was like something that I hope maybe that you guys can make sense of, is I heard for I don't know how many years that like it's confusing and this merger is going to be good because it's like it's confusing to the sponsors, like all this, that, and the other thing. And now we need one tour because it's always confusing to the sponsors. And now we're separating as 2 separate entities, and they're almost like, oh, this is good for sponsorship. I'm like, wait, what? This is totally different from the narrative I've been hearing for so long.
Yeah, I think I don't understand it. I think their argument is it basically gives them 2 different entities they can sell. So they could basically go and sell the PPA to, say, one alcohol company, and then you could actually go and sell Major League Pickleball to another alcohol company, for example, or you could sell one to one bank and one to the other bank, because usually the competing entities don't like to both be like premier sponsors or something. But to me, it's confusing long term. You want one brand. Like there's the NBA, there's the NFL, there's Major League Baseball. You know, in golf, there's now 2 tours or back to 1, but
yeah,
tennis. But like, yeah, everything has a premier tour or league. So why you would have competing entities doesn't make sense to me on a long-term basis.
Yeah, and that was just kind of PPA's whole thing in any of this, was just they wanted to be essentially the ATP, you know, of pickleball. And they wanted to be the one. So it's interesting. You don't have me convinced that. To me, honestly, this is just a ceasefire in the long standing PPA MLP war, and there's just going to be so many more twists and turns. We were just at full blows I don't even know how, like many days ago, and now these people are trying to intertwine and work together. It would just be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to me that both brands are staying and a lot of the key personnel on both sides are staying. Like, it is interesting. It's like they kind of have said we need to stop spending money, but we're not actually sure how we're going to work together is kind of what I see. But
yeah, I mean, and it's just crazy to me. Like, to me, it's good for the players, but they just shot themselves in the foot. You guys are 80 million now in the hole because of this whole fiasco. So hopefully this is actually something like they learn from and they can move forward with.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes you don't know if they've learned from it or why certain things don't happen. Connor Pardo's still staying on, and Connor made sure that he essentially almost single-handedly drove the market up substantially, maybe hoping for a merger, maybe hoping that would drive a merger. But it's something where you've got a couple of people on the PPA side, at least from our perspective, hurt a ton of trust with players, and Chris Patrick and Connor, with Connor sort of leading the way. And you've got a guy who can't tell the truth to anyone, and he's still in the mix. You've also got your commissioner who's giving bams and fist bumps on Facebook, and I don't know why in a merger that he's still around. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, the dude is impressive. That's all I can say.
The man can talk his way on
Connor Pardo. No, the dude is a legend. That's just like really what I have to say about Connor Pardo. I'm gonna look back like when I'm older and like there's got to be a movie about the dude if pickleball ever becomes anything. And the guy is just a legend. Like, it's really amazing. I thought PPA was dead in the water. Like, I told Connor, this is more impressive than any of Annalise Triple Crowns.
I mean, the thing is that from what I see, like MLP, and you're saying you thought they were dead in the water. I don't know if I thought PPA was dead in the water. I don't know if either of us did. But MLP was way ahead in this. After signing the Johnson 5 particularly, they were in the driver's seat on this. And then we've got a 50-50 merger. And the other thing that's changing is that the whole MLP format once again is changing. The podcast had talked about yesterday in our blog, we wrote about how they're eliminating the Premier Challenger situation. But they just, I think just before we got on here, we got an email with some rule changes and talking about Challenger Premier is gone. And I think it looked like they're changing the scoring system again and taking away the freeze up until like you have to win. So honestly, I don't quite understand what's going on with that, but I just know we have a lot of trouble following what's going on with MLP, and we follow things as closely as anyone. No one can figure out what's going on, and I think that's going to be an ongoing problem for them.
Yeah, I mean, I called for this on like when I was kind of going off about the whole delay stuff back in April on Zane's podcast of like there needs to be a player handbook. I've been saying this for so long. The PPA said it, like the hero Chris Patrick, who I really wanted making the handbook was on it supposedly, and that's a joke. I did not want him making that. I mean, I'll do it. Like, I'll sit down with somebody and someone can watch me. I don't even have to make it favored towards me. There needs to be something going on about this stuff. Like the PPA issued a fine on Pablo. Like, where's that even written down that Pablo can do that? Like, I know that it should be written down that he can't flip someone off, but show me the rule, Like, there's just so much going on, and like, we can't just come in to another event and be like told, oh, like you're just not going to do this. Like I can't even keep up with the rules anymore.
Yeah, PPA not always the best at writing things down and conveying that to the public. MLP's better at conveying things, but the consistency has just been such an issue.
Yeah, their format and everything like that. And I love their format and stuff, but like, let's decide on it and then let's go through with it. And like, I don't know, like, let's have a player board. If this merger is happening, there needs to be like a player board. I know the PPA had one, but it was like of OG 3-year contract players. And I told Sam Flaxman when the year was starting that new players needed to be on the board, like from the new wave of, like, you know, put Federico on the board, put Zane on the board, you know. You have to have some other stuff other than just, you know, Ben, Matt, Lucy, people who have just been around for a while.
Also, like, I do also wonder what that MLP product is going to look like next year if they're doing 24 teams. Like, the difference between your first and 48th woman is
so
huge.
I said this last year of like, at the first MLP, I know there were a few girls saying we're not going to play again because like it was really hard for me to play with a lower girl. And I can't speak because really I've had Vivian David, I've Annalie, and now I have Etta Wright. I've always had a great women's partner. I really can't complain, but it really, I'm a big believer that it's grown so much. Like the number 16 girl now, I forget who's the number 16 girl now in the draft. Probably like a Jade Kawamoto. No, that's too low for her. But like,
that might be about right. Elise is around there, I think, as well.
yeah, I mean, look, Elise, who's like, I mean, she's a great right-sided player. You know, it's growing so much that I actually think that's good because we're gonna get a lot of people like the Tyras from tennis coming over and just getting deep. Like, I'm really high. Like, people were hating on Anna's choice of Rachel Rohrenbacher. She was at the Yola camp with us training. I'm really high on Rachel Rohrenbacher, and now she's been given a chance that she's going full time with this. The girl's a sick athlete, great hands, great power. That's just the tip of the iceberg that is now going to start coming over, I think. So it's going to keep growing. Like, yes, there's going to be a few times, but I really think it's going to pick up quick.
So you're in favor then of, like, if you have 24 teams and you're not separating it Premier Challenger, are you saying you're in favor of, you're going to have the maybe Annalie, Anna Bright, or Catherine playing with, let's say, someone who was taken late, Dominique Schaefer or something like that?
No, absolutely not. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, I mean, it's been proven, especially in rally scoring, that, I mean, the girls just aren't as dominant. Like, we just aren't. So you then that's what we saw of influx of, like, you pick the guys later, you get the girls quick, right? But I do think it's like in a few years, it's not going to be that far off that the number 50 girl is pretty freaking good.
No, I think that's probably fair to say. I think just already, I thought this before, but you have a lot of teams, like 24 is also just a lot of teams to keep track of. I think there's been some rumblings about even possibly going to 28 teams. It's so much to keep track of.
Well, they're trying to sell essentially to pay us right now. I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah. And then have you heard that much about what's going to happen with players who are either unsigned or players who are signed but don't get picked to MLP?
I think they're just going to have to play a lot of PPAs. Honestly, I don't know. The funniest thing is, Rafa Hewett actually has a lot of ideas to do with the people who are getting paid that don't make teams. One of his ideas is childcare. They have to watch the children.
Rafa would be big on childcare.
So I honestly think we should nominate Rafa Hewett for that position. He's pretty creative.
What's this childcare proposal?
He said, like, the unsigned players have to, who are getting paid, they have to, like, watch. He's like, there's a lot of parents, which there are. I do think you need to do something with, like, childcare. Like, Lena is always working and struggling and trying to figure out. So his proposal is they have to watch them during the events.
It's not that funny, but it's Rafa Hewitt's story. Back in we were playing a Richland tournament, Columbia Basin, in 2019. And Rafa,
when he first started. Oh my gosh.
Rafa just started out. We played like against Rafa like 3 separate times, I think, in that year, because he's in the Pacific Northwest. And Rafa was there, and I think he had he had his other kids, but he had a 1-month-old pretty much, and his wife, who was like a saint, was there with
Yes.
their 1 month old for, like, you know, those tournament days are just all day. And it was probably,
Well, I think the day started at, like, I don't know what it'd be Fahrenheit, but
30,
like
35, yeah, 32 or
32
33
or
Fahrenheit.
33 Fahrenheit.
So
Yeah.
I get why he's on the childcare train, because
No, absolutely. And you know, the stuff like this in this, like for people like Rafa, Hewett, Jay DeVilliers, like where like they are the sole providers for this for their family. Like I think that's awesome that they're getting paid. You know, this is like life changing for people like that and who have just been grinding, like teaching in between that's hurting their games because they have to support their family.
well, and bring it all back to sort of the contracts. Isn't that's part of what I've seen a number of people commenting. I think even Zane said this when he was on, he did his live with Thomas Shields yesterday, is that you are still getting paid very well to play pickleball, which is a lot more money than you probably could have ever expected even a year ago.
Yeah, I guess where I'm like a little bit salty about, and some of the OG players are, not that I'm an OG, but I have been grinding for about 3 years now, hardcore. Is like some people are just stepping in and getting, I hate to use the Kwon excuse. I think he's gonna be good. I think he's a good kid, but like, dude just stepped in, like was playing tennis part-time. Yeah, he's been grinding with tennis, and now he's like getting 500K. I'm like, what?
But
That's
if I'm I'm going to challenge a bit on that. If I'm an owner, I would rather be paying somebody that I think has upside than be paying for
500K.
I'd rather pay like maybe 500. I wouldn't want to pay him. That's out of the market, but everything's out of the market. But I'd rather pay somebody who I think has upside than pay for past performance.
Okay. Here's the thing. There's past performers and there's upside. Okay. I still feel like I'm getting better. Kawamoto's have been playing for a while. They're getting better. I think someone like Hayden Patrickin, been playing for a while, been grinding. He's getting better. There are some people stepping in, just getting money that they just haven't been proven. Like that, I don't know if he's going to be good at doubles. He's a good singles player, but also I haven't seen him on the medal stand in singles either. So there's that, and
He
like,
did
yes,
make a podium, didn't he, in Denver, was it? Or
I don't know if he made a semi. I don't know if he made a podium.
made a semi.
But
yeah, he might. But I'm saying, like, long way to.
Oh, did we lose? I think we might have.
Yes, there's some people who got paid too much that are over the hill.
Yeah, I think that's where, like, that's what Jared's point is here, is that you're paying like real legacy players, like real money, and like if you're maybe
but that's
not.
Mainly the PPA who did. I felt like the MLP got a lot of the upside people, but they're also getting paid less.
I mean, I think Corinne Carr, I don't know how much Corinne Carr got, but someone like Corinne Carr is signed. I mean, I don't know why you need
there's
to
there's some signings where I'm like, you guys could have not signed that, and if you're saying you don't have money to up us, well, you could have gotten rid of quite a few of these people and given us some money.
Now that they've joined, they don't have the issue, but I thought that part of MLP's problem in this was that because they have 24 teams, they needed to sign so many players to protect their product, whereas like PPA, you don't need as many players. Like MLP, you need 96 viable players basically
to be in that draft. Yeah, for sure. But I mean,
like those kind of second and third tier, especially the third tier players, I would argue, like, if I'm the PPA, I don't know why they're signing them other than to hurt MLP. But like MLP, you do need them, because if PPA signed all those players, you just don't have enough to put out basically your product.
But there's some people who aren't drafted that I know have signed for 100K. Like, I'm like, that's just stupid. That's so stupid. Like there's a lot of the first signees, like the challenger level, were like 75 to 100. I'm like, why? There's some people not even playing that I don't even think will be challenger level. That's so stupid.
Yeah, I think I agree, because I think you probably have enough sign, like players that are unsigned that would want to play your events. That's why I actually don't know if you have to sign all those players, because you're going to have people, if the PPA can't take everyone who's viable. I mean, maybe they could, but I thought it wasn't. You're going to have enough people that are like some of the people that have signed. I think you're going to have enough people who are comparable to them that you wouldn't need to sign them all. But by the way, Lea, your camera's just frozen. I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah, it's just not showing up though.
Okay.
Actually, like I don't even see myself.
Okay.
I'll just go like that.
Yeah. So I don't know, Jared. Did you have anything else?
Oh, there it is.
There you go.
I do have to say though, some people will be paying very close attention to some comments out there, because I know I'm playing some very overpaid teams, and if they miss dinks, they will know they're being paid way too much to miss that shot.
The trash talk will be next level.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like some people kind of have a target out there, because you essentially do know, like do know a lot of the numbers, you know, and you know a lot of the people who are talking, who are kind of like, man, this kind of sucks, are probably underpaid. And you know, the people who are quiet and not saying anything are probably like overpaid, you know. So it's there's a lot of misinformation that's going around, but you do know like a common theme of it, and it's usually in which side. So yeah, a lot of I do think this MLP will be pretty interesting in that aspect.
Don't the secrets then have to end at some point if they're going free agency in 2024?
Yes.
And you have a cap, like any other sports league, you know what people make. It's public what people make, so you have to know the team structure and stuff like that, and to be able to have discussions about team structure.
And I do think that's what's good about 2024. Like the secrets will be out. There will be a free market. You will know. And like I do think it will even itself out. And the people who got these contracts and are tapped out, like, yeah, I mean, and like some people have said, yeah, but they're getting their money anyway. I'm like, yeah, but I do think, yes, there are some outliers who are just going to get overpaid, but they're essentially just going to play themselves out of this sport. And like, yeah, you can make an argument that some of them are over the hill, but there's just no way some people are going to pick up those price tags next year. And me, ultimately, say my offer is $700K from MLP. Maybe a Frisco Panda is going to pick that up, but I need, and every girl needs, to be on a team with a good guy, or with two solid guys. Like you're just not going to win MLP alone as a female.
Yeah, I think that's when we talk about it more, that's what you get with this free agency model versus the draft, is that you're going to have different debates as to, you know, we have these debates in other sports about, you know, do you care about money or do you care about winning? Are you going to take less money so that you can get on a better team? A lot of people just end up taking more money, but that I think, and how you're going to structure your team. Are you going to take a lower priced girl? Are you going to take higher priced women? How's that going to affect you? With newer signed players come in, are you know, what can you pay those players? So I think that actually can be a good part of it.
A Jade and Jackie Kawamoto next year, I'm telling you, they are going to be more valuable than a Ben Johns. I think me at my price cap as well, or will be in that range. But they're super consistent. They're great at mix. They're getting better. They're wickedly good at singles, as we saw. That's going to be really viable, because we saw like having Irina and Catherine with two strong guys, not the best, but strong, was a consistent winning formula.
Yeah, it's tough for Ben.
And obviously Ben's Ben, you know.
Yeah, Ben's probably the outlier. I think you're talking girls. I think he's maybe the one guy that can really move the needle.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. But no girl is Ben.
And men's partner, and he can also get you probably more consistently singles points than anyone else. So
yeah, I mean, the dude is, I mean, he's the best. Like, seriously.
Do you have any predictions for MLP Atlanta?
I've learned with MLP you can't have predictions, but I am so excited to see that group of death of Riley, who has a very strong team. Christian Alshon is what we're now learning, a very good right side player. Kawamoto's are studs, very good singles team. You got Annalee's team. I think they might be without AJ for that Saturday, so we'll see if that's better or worse. And then Ben's team. So I'm so excited to see that group. Yeah, it's gonna be good to see.
I still don't know if you can say that the Kawamotos are great singles players. I think they perform well at MLP, but that might come back down to earth here.
Back at US Open, I played Jade, I think. Yeah, I played Jade. And I always beat her. Like, I played her a few times and it was always like 6-7, 7-7. Like, that's good for MLP. Like, she would be up 4-0 on me and I would come back and win. So, like, as we see at MLP, like, Annalee wasn't really dominant even when she played the girl in singles.
Well, she didn't play very many girls, but
yeah, no, I'm aware of that one. Yeah,
that's what they
and
might
that's
call.
Because the one time she did, Jackie went out and she or Jade, I think I had Jackie. Yeah, I think Jackie was either one up on me or even with me, and like freaking Lindsay Newman, I was 5-3 on. Etta, I was 3-5 down on. Like, you don't know.
No, I think there's just a baseline level of competency that you need to be like capable at MLP, but I still think it is what you might call a strategic error to put Annalee against the guy 90% of the time.
No, yes, absolutely. I am very well aware of that one. Yes. But I don't call the game plan on that one.
How are you feeling about your team? Or you're with Etta, Rafa, Hewett, Connor, Garnett.
Yeah, I'm with Etta. So I'm pretty used to the right now. And Etta actually plays the left in a way that I like, where she's just not going to be taking every single ball and playing like large with me. So I think if we get used to each other, we'll be good. I'm hoping MLP Rafa shows up, and Etta and Connor are a good mixed team. I think Rafa and I can be a good mixed team as well. And Connor's like, I don't think anyone has risen more since the draft, since Connor Garnett. Maybe Gabe Tardio, you could argue.
But Gabe's in Challenger, but he maybe had a similar rise.
I think
so. I'm very happy we picked Connor, and I don't keep track of the men's game. So Connor to me was just really good at singles. I know he was getting better, but Rafa, that was Rafa's choice. My suggestion I threw out was Tardio, because Rafa and Tardio had played well together, and I've been high on Gabe for a while now.
Yeah, I think Jared said to me after I think he wrote it actually in our draft grades, but that Garnett was the one that could. We weren't super high on your team, but could be the one that saves the draft there. Like, we're high on the women, but you do need two strong men a lot of times. So.
But Rafa.
MLP Rafa.
I mean, he just played amazing against Catherine and Tyson. I mean, the guy was electric. So as long as he can just, like, when he's electric, like, and you're feeling it, go be electric. But when you're just like, starting out the game, just play some percentages. I think we got something.
So you're asking Rafa to play percentages?
Yes. I think Crandall's going to be on him for that. I think we got the guy who can get through to him.
All right, I forgot you guys had Crandall as your coach. Yeah, it does make a difference having that coach there.
Yeah, no, he's good. I think Crandall's we've already gone back and forth, and he's changed a few things in my doubles game. That's really helping. So I really like Crandall.
Would you prefer to have like Etta's mom, or like,
I'm just excited for Etta's whole entire family. Let me tell you. And then we got the Ranchers first round. So I want her aunt rallying up again.
Yeah, no.
Edda's family goes nuts.
I've seen them
ants.
a bit. Like, yeah, they get fired up.
I actually had no idea.
No, it's in Texas. Like, you can hear them on the stream.
Yeah, if you listen to the stream.
Yeah, it's so funny because Edda's the complete opposite. But yeah, I'm super excited for it. Edda, like, I think we'll have a good mix. Like, me and Rafa will obviously bring a lot of personality, and Edda and Connor will kind of bring like the ice. So I think it will be good. We had a good time when we went to Chicago together.
Yeah, I just think the premier this time around, there's just not anyone that really stands out team wise. I think actually DC, since that draft with the Kawamotos and Alshon, they may stand out more. The Alshon pick looked questionable, but they may stand out the most because of how well the Kawamotos are playing. And Riley's still Riley. He's he's gotten to the point where people aren't, including us, maybe aren't giving him enough respect. So I think that's a really good team, but there's anyone truly is sort of in the mix.
Yeah, and like I always say, like, the big thing you have to look for in pickleball is, like, there's not very many people getting better. So you have to look at, like, the teams where people are getting better. And Kawamotos are sneakily getting better every time I see them. And Christian Alshon is getting a lot better.
He hits the ball against the wall a lot.
Yeah, he works out a lot.
Well, and I think at the time of the draft, it wasn't really known if he could play the right side, but he's showing himself to be a very good right side player. So
he's very lethal with the forehand, and his hands are a lot better when he's not like trying to guard multiple spots. So I think that team's going to be dangerous, and I don't know. Like, I think they're making it out. So either Ben and Anna Lee aren't making it out.
Yeah, well, I hopefully that people care about this MLP, because we've had so much Tour Wars talk that I don't know. It almost feels like it's sneaking up on us. We're a week away from it, and we'll see if it has the hype of it. But I really hope so, because I love these MLP events. But there's been so much
tell you, I've been pretty mentally checked out since about, like, I've been pretty mentally checked out, and that just added to it. But I can tell you, like, what everything's going on, it's kind of given a lot of people a kick in the ass of, like, okay, like, shut up. Let's stop being divas. We're getting paid. Let's go out there. Let's do what we're actually supposed to do now. At least that's how I feel. And a few people who I've talked to are kind of getting the same way.
I think that's probably a good way to wrap it up, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Lea.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Lea.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing who wins. So I'll catch you guys later.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah, and just everyone, just like, subscribe, follow. You can go to the blog, nmlpickleball.com. We actually have a new sponsor here wearing the sweatshirts right now, Drop Shot District Clothing. You can go to their website, NML10TEN, for a little discount code there. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.